What's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special, well, I won't say very special, but a special episode of the NIBScast. I'm your host, Aaron Lamping. It is just me this week. I haven't been here the last couple weeks. The last 3 weeks or so, I've been kind of busy. Been more focused on my relationship with my girlfriend, spending some time with her. We had our how it works is me and the guys like to hang out every Saturday night. Since my girlfriend and I now work separate shifts, she got a new job working first shift. I still work second shift, even though I did get a promotion at work, which is very exciting. But however, that means our time together is definitely a lot more valuable. So me and the guys now hang out. I believe most of the guys still hang out every weekend, but I can only hang out every weekend or every other weekend now. But what happened is I now have to hang out every other weekend, which no biggie. I love my girlfriend very much. I enjoy spending time with her. Uh, but what happened is I still like to try to do the podcast every week, but it kind of came up where our anniversary and Valentine's Day kind of lined up poorly. We both worked on both days, so that Saturday just became it. And then I planned to go out of town the first weekend I missed, and it ended up not happening. But it was kind of late for me to get back on the podcast. I don't like to mess with people's plans and who we have set up to be on the podcast. And then the third weekend I missed, we actually did go out of town. So this weekend I ended up working overtime at work, and it ran pretty late, so we couldn't get the guys together at a decent time. And I didn't want to miss a show this week. I'm not sure if there was one last week. I actually need to talk to Nikki13 about that. If there is, I will make sure I get that one up before this one. So you'll probably have, if you're a avid listener, you'll have listened to it. But I'll make sure we try to get that up for you guys. But yes, so here this is, a podcast just with me. I decided to do this podcast actually because I was just kind of sitting here grinding in Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I was like, you know what? Don't want to miss a show this week. Could do something. So here we are. If I sound a little distracted, I typically don't like. I know. Recently, Nikki13, he kind of has a different format for the show than I do. He likes to. They've been playing games during it. I don't like to do that because I get a little distracted, but here I am today doing that same thing. I actually want to talk to him. I like the idea of the format of that show. I think it could be a different show. Maybe we switch the NIBScast to more just about the news of the week, and then the topic show could be his show while he's playing. I don't know. I'll talk to him about it. Regardless, I'm ranting a lot, and I probably started a thought and missed it, but I just wanted to let you guys know where that was at. Before we get too much into the news, I don't have a ton of news for you guys this week. I wanted to update you on just where I stand with NIBSmedia in general right now. I love doing this stuff. I have a blast doing it, especially the podcast. The Nibs plays have been a bit of a thorn in my side lately, as you can tell. I still haven't finished the South Park. I got really motivated, did a ton of it. I actually finished it, and then the episode that's up right now is echoing real bad, and I never got around to fixing it. I plan on finishing the NIBScast and redoing that episode. I'm just going to replay it and make sure that's not as echoey, because you can't really notice if you don't have your volume up, but if you're wearing headphones and stuff, it sounds pretty bad. And I'd like to be a little more professional than that. I mean, this is just the issue with NIBSmedia for me is just it's a side thing I do for fun, and sometimes it's just not fun. I kind of explained that in a Facebook post earlier this month, but it's just when I don't have fun, I don't want to force myself to do it, and that includes that includes that Nibs play. What I learned is going forward. Originally, I wanted to try to get a different Nibs play up each month, but if that means if that if that means starting one and not finishing one like I did with South Park, which I will finish, I will finish that, I promise. But if that means doing that, I would rather just not have one every month and work on one for a longer time, so that way once it starts going up, it's done. And that's actually what Nikki13 wanted to do, or told me was a good choice. But I was getting around. I was at least doing enough to put up 5 episodes a week, so I didn't feel too bad about that. But then life got in the way. Christmas happened. Some stresses happened. But it's just, it is what it is, unfortunately. I don't always have fun talking and playing video games, so I'm not going to force myself to do that when I don't want to. So that's where we're at with the Nibs plays. I promise I'll finish that one up hopefully here soon, and then going forward you'll only get personal ones from me when they're completely done. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's jump in with a little news this week. I thought this news specifically from Nintendo was big enough where I wanted to talk about it, so that's why I'm doing a show by myself. So they had a Pokemon Direct on Friday. I'm recording on the 28th of February, so this was on the 26th of February. It was a Pokemon Direct. It was only about 5 minutes long, but they kicked off pretty cool. It had a thing which showed basically the history of 20 years of Pokemon, which they celebrated on Saturday, February 27th. In Japan, of course. It didn't come out till 98 in the States, but it basically showed all the games, starting with Pocket Monsters green version and red version, and it just kind of like flipped through them all, where they finally announced Pokemon Moon and Sun, which will be coming to the 3DS in 2016. Now, I don't know if I'm just in the hype right now, but like this actually sounds really exciting to me. Like, I don't know. I played X and Y, or whatever one I have. I don't know which one I have, and like I hadn't played since Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which were actually the last ones I really played since Gold and Silver, and it got me excited. I was very pumped for it. So I'm looking forward to this. They didn't say much about it, unfortunately. They were just kind of like, "Hey, there's new games coming out." But I mean, for Pokemon fans, last year with Pocket Monsters, not Pocket Monsters, excuse me, Yokai Watch, Pokemon kind of got skipped over, and there wasn't a new Pokemon game last year. But I think that a lot of that has to go with them developing Pokemon Go for the phones, and I think that's going to be a lot bigger than people are expecting. At least I hope it is, because it sounds really neat. So anyway, we can be on the lookout for Pokemon Moon and Sun Holiday 2016. And I think part of why I'm so excited for this is they really tugged on my heartstrings, because also on Saturday came out for the eShop was Pokemon Yellow, Red, and Blue, of course, for the 3DS eShop. And I picked up Pokemon Yellow, and I'm having a blast. It's really a nostalgia trip for me. I mean, these games were very important in my childhood. Nikki13 once traded me a level 100 Charizard when I didn't realize how the badges worked, and the asshole didn't listen to me half the time, but when he did, we one-shotted things. We one-shotted things to death. So, yeah, I'm playing through Yellow right now. I'm working my way towards Surge, so having a good time there. It's amazing to me because I played these games when I was really little, so like I went more for the Pokemon I liked. And when you actually go for like type advantages, wow, this game's a whole hell of a lot easier than it was when I was little. However, I will say it's more difficult than the newer ones. Like in Pokemon X and Y, I basically Charizarded my way with his Mega Evolution all the way to the Elite Four. I actually didn't lose until the very final battle of the equivalent of the Elite Four in that game. When I lost, I was like, have I died before? Like, I wasn't sure. And it popped up saying, like, hey, let's explain how the Pokemon Center works. And I was like, oh my god, I've never died before. That's not the case in these older versions. Like, even if you have the type advantage, they can get lucky crits and stuff. I mean, it's part of the game just being fine-tuned. I mean, the original versions were notorious for bugs and stuff, but I love every bit of it. I'm having a blast. So if you're interested in that, like if you haven't played them before, like if you're young and just haven't played Gen 1, like I was surprised reading the internet how many people have never played Gen 1, like look into it. It's a ton of fun, and it's good to know where everything came from, because really the show wasn't first. It was the game in Japan. It came out at the same time here, but like yeah, it's a ton of fun. So they ended that direct with the announcement that you will be able to send your Generation 1 Pokemon via the Pokebank to Moon and Sun, which got a ton of people excited because the Pokebank, I believe you could go everything from the Game Boy Advance ones on, so that would actually be the remakes of Gen 1, Leaf Green and Fire Red, I believe they were. you could actually move your Pokemon on via the Pokebank to later versions of the game, but you could never move your Gen 1s. So what this means is you'll be able to move the Generation 1 Pokemon that you recapture on these eShop versions over to the new game that comes out later this month. Now, I can't confirm this for sure, but I read somewhere that it will only be Moon and Sun that you can move these Gen 1s to, which means, unfortunately, like if you wanted to move them over to your X or Diamond versions, you couldn't. I've never played with the Pokemon Bank, so I'll be interested. I do plan on getting Moon or Sun. We'll see as they announce more. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Moon because that sounds a little neater. But like if it's always dark outside, I might not. We'll see. We'll see what they say. But yeah, so Pokemon Direct was pretty cool. Pokemon 20 years old. That's an awesome milestone. I can't especially the show. Like the games are great, and I don't mind the show a little bit. I was watching a little bit of the show today just because of the 20-year anniversary. But like without Nintendo, I don't think Pokemon would have lasted as long as it did. But I mean, they really supported it, and it's alive and well. Like it's still massively popular. Just one little side note, if for those of you, I found out before X and Y came out, they actually had a 4-part miniseries. It's about an hour and a half long. If you watch them all back to back like I did, that was called Pokemon Origins, and it follows the story of Red and his Pokemon adventures through the first game, and he actually does what Ash should have done and catches them all. It's actually a really good watch. I suggest you do it. So, we'll move on to some Sony news. The only bit of Sony news I have is they've announced their PS Plus launch lineup for March. I guess it's more just a lineup, not a launch. PS Plus exists. So, the first game was Broforce, which won the PS4 community vote. I don't know much about Broforce, but apparently if people voted for it, they like it. Flame Over for the PlayStation Vita. I know most of these I don't know anything about. Galaxy for the PS4 I kind of know a little bit about because one of my coworkers before I got promoted, one of my coworkers really liked this game. It sounds like it's a very difficult roguelike. So if you're into roguelikes, you might be interested in this one. I'll be checking it out. Like he really raved about this game. It apparently ramps up really quick. Like it gets difficult, but you know, if you're into the challenge, I hear it's a fair difficult. It's not necessarily unfair. So that's always a good way to do it. Finally, we got not finally, there's 3 more, but moving on, we have The Last Guy for PS3, Reality Fighters for Vita, and then finally, Super Stardust HD for the PlayStation 3. Super Stardust HD is made by Housemarque. A lot of people will know them more from Resogun. They're basically really into twin stick shooters, and they've really mastered the craft. Like they make some good games. I'm not a huge twin stick shooter guy, so like I don't necessarily super care for these games, but like a lot of people who got the PlayStation 4 at launch will know that Resogun was actually a free PlayStation Plus game that came out with the console. So it was good. It was good. They definitely make good games, but just not the kind of games I'm necessarily into. All right. So let's go around the industry next. So The Division game coming out soon that a lot of people are excited about. A lot of people noticed during the beta that there's this thing called Phoenix credits, and this made a lot of people very nervous at first. They were all like, oh man, is this, because you couldn't get it in the beta, they're like, is this microtransaction stuff? Like, what does this mean exactly? And like I said, it got a lot of people pretty nervous. So Ubisoft took to Twitter saying, quote, there will be no microtransactions at launch, and definitely there will never be ones that are pay to win. So that still really didn't answer the question of what Phoenix credits are. IGN has had exclusive coverage of the game all month on their website, and even they don't exactly know what the currency is. I mean, I'm sure somebody told them while they were there, but all they could say was to stand by for an announcement, which makes me think, shit or get off the pot. Like, this game comes out in just about a week and a half, like probably within a week by the time you hear this. And it's like, unless they want it to be a surprise, like just announce it already, guys. Like this game comes out what, March 8th, I believe. Yeah, it's the second Tuesday in March because I believe the first Tuesday is the first of the month. And it's like like if unless you want it to be a surprise, you need to tell us what this is because you're running out of time. I played the beta this last weekend, the open beta. I didn't get into the closed one, but I played the open. I was very impressed with the game. The combat is very, very tight. I think a lot of people will at least enjoy the combat. It is an online only game, so a lot of people might not enjoy that. It gave me a Destiny vibe. And the only complaint I really had with it is it felt kind of empty at times. Like there was definitely a lot of just walking around in big open spaces until randomly like 4 enemies would show up. But I mean, they did announce that they were having problems with the game's event population working correctly in beta. So hopefully they can get that fixed and the game feels a little more populated. Like I said, it's really solid. When you're fighting, it's good. When you're in the missions, there's not a lack of enemies. It's when you're in the big open overworld that it feels a little empty. But that was really my only complaint with it. So moving on, we've got some Battlefield 5 rumors. So according to a German realtor, World of Games, the upcoming Battlefield 5 just may be a World War I shooter. Oh, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, as long as it's still paced decently, like I don't want to be sitting there for like a minute between each shot, like loading my muzzle or something. So anyway, on their website, on their Twitter actually, when they translated it, it translated loosely to multiplayer tactical shooter in World War I when speaking of the game, and it's apparently due out later this year on October 26th. No official has been commented on at the time of this recording. But like it just really made me question, since it said multiplayer specific, do you think this will be it made me think, do you think this will be go the way of like a Rainbow Six Siege or Titanfall and drop the single player altogether? I mean, especially since the Battlefield series isn't particularly well known for its story, at least not since Battlefield Bad Company. So, actually, if you guys want to comment on this, please leave a comment and maybe we'll read some of them on the next show. And then, our final bit of news, and we'll actually round out the show. It's going to be a shorter show this week. I don't like talking to myself too much. But the final bit of news is the Fallout 4 Season Pass contents have been revealed. The first thing I want to mention is that the price is going from $29.99 to $49.99, effective March 1st. So unfortunately, by the time some of you listen to this podcast, the price will probably have gone up. I'm going to try to get this out tomorrow, which will be the 29th. So if you're listening to this on the 29th, please, and you're interested in the Fallout 4 Season Pass, make sure you go out and do that. Pick it up because it's going up. So the first bit of DLC is called Automatron, and it is described as, quote, the mysterious mechanist has unleashed a horde of evil robots into the Commonwealth, including the devious Robobrain. You will be hunting them down and creating your own robots, choosing from hundreds of mods. The Automatron DLC is due out in March and will sell standalone on its own for $10. So basically it sounds like you're going to be like building your own robot friends, your own companions, and just like really getting out there and seeing the Commonwealth. It's kind of neat. I mean, I need to get back to Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is one of those games in my library. I enjoyed it, but then December happened, and December was a very stressful month for me. And I just never got around to it, and then other games kind of came out that I enjoyed more. I'll admit, like, I love Fallout 4 a lot, but like it's just more Fallout. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually probably one of the strengths of the game, but it is just more Fallout. The second DLC is called Wasteland Hunters. This DLC will introduce trap making and setting, and you can use them in fights to destroy the scum of the wasteland. It will introduce creature taming, and you will be able to use these creatures to aid you or even have them face off against each other. Wasteland Hunters is expected in April and will sell for $5. So, I mean, that's kind of neat. I feel like if if you know how to mod games on PC, you're probably already like just having monsters face off against each other. But the idea of being able to like capture some of these creatures and go out and use them is pretty neat. And I mean, especially, I mean, you get your robot companion in Automatron, and then you can start like taming creatures. And I'm sure you can use them to like defend your settlements. So that'd be pretty cool. I'll be interested to see how that works out. And then finally, the last one they announced right now, they kind of hinted that there may be more they add to the season pass, but they didn't say for sure. But I kind of read it that way. But the last one they announced was Far Harbor, and this is the largest of these three packs by far. It will be a new case for the Detective Valentine Agency. God, Nick Valentine's dope. If I mean, I'm not very far in the game, but what little I'm at, like I really enjoy his character. He's really neat, and I enjoy him. It will include the largest landmass add-on of any Bethesda game to date. So as far as DLC goes, it will be the largest chunk of land that Bethesda adds to the game. And it will also include new gear, dungeons, settlements, and the list went on and on. You can like check it out online. You can go to Bethesda's website and check it out. No timeline was given for this DLC in particular, but it will sell separately for $25. Bethesda being the decent people they are, and like, I mean, $60 for Fallout is kind of a steal if you think about the time you put into it. But like, I'm sure this, I mean, especially if they say the largest landmass add-on, this is going to be a very significant chunk of DLC. And then finally, they ended by saying, there will be some free updates coming up too for the game. Creation tools for modders and survival mode are actually currently undergoing testing and will be out as soon as they find them stable enough. So if you're into Fallout 4, you've got a lot to be looking forward to. Guys, that was this week's special NIBScast. I'm not going to put a number on it. I'm just going to put special or something, you know. But I want to thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, go ahead, subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook. You can find that link in the description, and just share us with a friend. Like, if you feel like your friend might enjoy it, it's like, don't share it with a friend that's not going to enjoy it. I would like to build a community of people who actually enjoy what we do. But if share us with a friend that you think would enjoy it. I mean, even if you can just get one friend. We have a small group of very dedicated people. We have fairly consistent numbers on the show every week, but like if we can grow our reach, I mean, that's just good for morale. It shows us like what we're doing is actually interesting. We do definitely. I don't want that comment to come across like we appreciate those of you who do listen, and we thank you for taking some time out of your day to listen to us. But yeah, just go ahead and share us with a friend. So until next week, where hopefully we'll have a full podcast back together with the whole gang. I've been enjoying myself today. But yeah, until next week, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.